Well, hi everyone. Here we are with Taylor, who's I don't know, growing a beard or not. We'll find out in a couple of weeks if that
Right, you'll know for
is
sure.
up or not. I'm not going to grow mine. I'm just going to keep myself nicely shaved like this. How are you, my dear?
I'm great. How are you
So
doing?
good. Today's a holiday in Canada. It's Victoria Day. So the Queen
Ah,
Victoria, who reigned between 1837 and 1901, her birthday was actually May 24. But it's celebrated on the third Monday of May every
oh,
year. It's the unofficial start of summer, and we celebrate it by freezing because it's barely above, literally barely above zero or
wow.
32. So it's possibly, I don't know, somewhere around 35, 38 degrees right now,
Oh,
Fahrenheit.
no, no, thank you. It's like
Yeah.
88 here and humid.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. But I'm working anyway because I wanted to be, well, I mean, being with you is not
That's
working,
not
as you
hard
know what I
work.
mean.
Yeah, right.
No. Tell me about Victory. Are you
So,
done?
Vic,
Is it done?
we're done.
Yeah?
We're done. We're signed, sealed,
Yay.
delivered. It's on the west side of the building, so it's
Uh-huh.
getting lots of good reactions.
Excellent.
Yeah, from just drivers by like stunned because it's a new mural there at the end of Ninth Street, and it's all been good so far. So we're
That's
gonna
wonderful.
right kind of document the process for social media, and
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. So now I know the most famous artist in Huntsville.
that's right.
Like I feel like I
The
feel
most
cool by by
infamous for
proxy.
sure, right?
That's excellent. Speaking of infamous, so the Pope celebrated his first mass yesterday. And
Yes.
JD Vance, your vice president, was there, even went to talk to him, and
Yikes.
I haven't heard a thing. So like
That's
okay, maybe that's okay. We're done
the
with
Pope is
the
very brave,
jinxing.
you know, like, oh,
I know. So we have lots to talk about. Well, as usual, we could talk for hours
for
and hours, but
days.
we have the king showing up next week. So next week I'll have to talk to you about that. But yeah, did you
Yes.
know
And
that?
how I did not know that. So Charles is coming
Yeah.
to visit.
That's right. He's coming to read this. So every time you have a new parliament that's
Mhm.
starting, typically after an election, you have a speech from the throne that outlines the. So it's sort of like a State of the Union address. So it
Okay.
outlines the big agenda for the government, and typically it is read by the Governors General, which is the representative of the monarch in Canada, because our monarch is our head of state technically. Our prime minister is our head of government. It's all fussy and dusty and stuff, but we kind of like our little pomp and circumstance. So typically, this is read in the Senate by the governor general. But this year, to make a bit of a point that we're big and strong, the prime minister has invited the king
Mm.
to come and read the speech from the throne himself, and the king agreed. So they're going to show up next week at some point and do that.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
coming all the way across the pond and he's not going to stop in and see us. I can't imagine why.
yeah, not this time. Maybe it will come
Mhm.
some other time. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I couldn't imagine why he wouldn't want to pop on down and visit.
Yeah, I will though, but not next week, but a couple, and
Yes,
yeah,
in a couple of
yeah,
weeks you will be
it's
here. That
coming, it's
is,
coming.
it's coming
Yeah,
quickly. We'll have to find a new restaurant.
yes. Well, there's plenty of them, so I'm glad.
Yes.
Like, yeah, and they keep opening, so there's all kinds of new ones. I follow this account on Facebook. I should put the link to it. What's it called again? No, I forget. But I'll put a link to it where they, every now and then they have a little post that says new things that have opened in Huntsville in the
Oh,
last week or so. Yeah, it's fun.
like Huntsville Blast, I
That's the one.
bet. They,
Yes, that's
and
right.
you
Yeah.
know, they are located here in Lomel.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
their
So I'll have to
office is
go and say hey.
like five studios down from this one.
Well, I will go
Yeah,
and say hey next time I'm in town because it's really useful to me. I think that's
small
how I
world.
learned about the fluffy pancakes, which really was worth trying. So I did not know this about Alabama. Now hold on to your chapeau there because did you know that you were among
Hold
now
on
and
to my what?
chapeau is French for hat. Hold on to your
Oh,
hat.
okay. I was like,
Because we're
what am
all
I supposed?
fancy,
I guess.
what am I holding on
What the
to?
fuck is a chapeau?
Uh,
Oh,
Alabama is the only state where if you're a salaried employee and you work full time for a salary, right? Like a lot of people, and you do go over 40 hours a week, you don't get you get to not pay taxes on this estate tax on the amount you make in over 40 hours a week. So say, you work out, you work full time and you decide, and there's work available, and you're a little pinched, or you want to earn a little more money,
Oh,
or whatever the reason, you just decide to go for this. So you're going to work 48 hours that week instead of 40, so that the amount that you make per hour for those 8 hours on top of 40, you don't pay state tax on this. This was introduced in 2023. I read up on this because I was fascinated by this, in order to help, you know, hourly wage folks,
right.
who want to earn a little bit more and keep that in their pockets. Because typically, when you go above and beyond, the government kind of claws it back from you, because you sometimes
It's
you'll be bumped into another tax bracket, and then you wind up paying more on that income. So it's not really worth doing the overtime. And for
mm,
a lot of people, with cost of living and the cost of eggs being so high, and all those things, say, well, I want to earn a little bit more. It helps me get out of the pinch that I'm in. And why not? Now, apparently, and I read up on this a little bit more, and apparently tax experts they don't think this is a great idea, for a whole bunch of reasons, and they explain them. But I kind of think that it's not a bad idea to allow people to earn more without having to pay extra tax on it. That's just for state taxes. I guess folks still have to pay federal taxes on this stuff. I'm not an expert on American taxes, but I just thought this was a great thing. I did not know this was in force in Alabama until this week, when I learned that Republicans in the state legislature had decided to just let this lapse, because it was a trial program, and
mhm.
I think it ends in June next month. And instead of renewing it, they decided to just, nope, we're just going to let this lapse, because apparently it costs a bunch of money to the state because people took advantage of it. And they're going to instead favor tax cuts to companies. You're like, if you wanted to be a cartoonish version of a Republican, this is exactly what you do. So I'm slightly upset about this, but I'm proud of Alabama for having done something different, and I think pro worker.
And it was interesting to me because I had no idea they even did it.
Right,
When I worked back in the day, you didn't want to get overtime because I mean, it was like working for free because they were so aggressively taxing that
right,
overtime.
right. And for
So
a lot
it
of
was
people who
interesting.
can't have a second job, because you can't do two jobs at once. It's very hard, like, to be at two places at once. So it gives you a chance, if you don't have to pay extra aggressive taxes on it, to get more money in your pocket. That's super easy
Right, without
for a
getting
lot of people to do.
a raise or a side job or
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, you think it would be good. And I'm no expert in state taxes because they vary from state to state. In
Hmm.
Tennessee, I don't believe have to pay a state sales tax on your payroll. I think they're all a little
Right. There's
wonky, but
differences. Hmm.
mhm.
Yeah. Which is, I wouldn't want to be a tax lawyer or anywhere,
No,
really.
right. That doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a very fun job for sure.
Hmm. They're a special breed, tax lawyers.
Mm.
Mm. Anyway, so that's that. The other, so it's not, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but I wish there would be some kind of rebellion of taxpayers saying, this is how I was being able to afford the $12 that my daughter wants, not the $3 Donald Trump says she should have.
If you want Alabamians to rebel, like take away Crisco
The shortening?
that we fry everything in.
I don't even think, oh, I did not know that. I thought it
Oh,
was like oil, like, all, no, no.
no, 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 Crisco, lard.
Okay.
That's
Sorry. My French genes are having a bit of a shock right now.
we
So what
deep
about,
fry everything here.
oh, I knew that. I just hadn't realized it was in Crisco.
Crisco.
Okay. All right.
I can make you some fried chicken that you will never forget
In a good way?
in a good way.
Okay. Then I'm willing. I'll try anything
Right,
once. Yeah,
right.
I've
That's
tried
why.
fried alligator once.
Oh, that's a little
Once.
chewy, isn't it?
It's chewy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
fishy, but that's okay. Yeah, once. I mean, you
yeah.
have to try it. So one
I don't
good
know.
thing that's coming back to that one just wanted to be happy with you about, and I think you'll uh, relate to that one, because you do go to Tennessee a fair bit using the I-65. So near the state line, there's a welcome center for Alabama, and for the longest time, there was a replica of the Saturn rocket, one of the smaller ones, that was standing outside that, welcoming you to northern Alabama from Tennessee.
Was it a replica or was it an actual rocket?
Good question.
I think it
Maybe it
was an
was the
actual
actual one.
rocket. And this is where the problems start to come in 40 years later after they put up a real rocket.
Okay. So would it, but it was a smaller version. It was not the
Smaller
Saturn V.
version,
That's
right?
right. Okay. So that's what I read. Right. And they put it up there 40 odd years ago ish. I
Ish,
think
yes, yes.
that's what the story says. We'll put the
Mhm.
link to it, and if I'm wrong, I'll put a correction. But
I
a
wasn't
number
alive
of
back
years
then,
ago,
I don't know.
yeah, I was too young. Yeah, I was alive. But anyway, it was a number of years ago, and sure enough, being outside kind of made it. It deteriorated over time, and then apparently to restore it and put it back, it was considered to be like pointless or too expensive or both. And
Mhm.
so, was it last year that it came down? And I've
Last
been
year or the
missing
year
it.
before, yes.
Yeah, I've been missing it ever since because it was my beautiful welcome to
It
Alabama,
was like a
along with the
beacon.
yeah, yeah. So there's the state when the sign when you cross the state line. Get people who have traveled in from Canada. You have this in Canada as well, where you cross Welcome to Ontario, Bienvenue au Québec. Like you have every jurisdiction as their little sign, and the one for Alabama says Sweet Home Alabama. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's my little thing every time I come back.
That's right.
But and it had that, and I was missing it. So I'm glad to hear that now they're going to have a replica this time.
There are
There's a
talks.
there's about $7 million set aside or secured for that, and it will go back roughly where it was near the now refurbished and reopened Welcome Center, which I've tried one night very late once when I was coming back down from Nashville, and it's nice. Like
Okay.
y'all have gotten something good there with
Is it
clean
is it
bathrooms and everything.
is it Boosie's nice or is it just kind of state truck stop nice?
Um, well, there's not a lot of services, and in fairness, I was there. It was about midnight, so
Mm.
not much was open. But there was a good vending machine that took credit cards, which beats Ohio.
That doesn't have them? Okay.
Okay. No, because I mean you have still things with cash and like who
Who
travels with
has
dollar bills
cash?
anymore? I
Yeah.
don't know. So some people must do, and they're probably still in Ohio. But but so it's nice that way. It's clean and the bathrooms are lovely, and there
Okay.
was one person there, but there was no other services. So
Oh. That was before
somewhere
the
in
Boosies
between.
came. Yeah.
What is the boosties? What's
The
that?
Buckies.
Oh no,
But
no,
it's
actually
spelled
that was
like
after.
Boosies. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're
I was
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Bucky's open before I think the Welcome Center reopened. So anyway, for
that
folks who are
that
in
was
that area, yeah,
that was our welcome center for quite some time, like 2 years.
right.
The Boosies.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, I mean, it's different. Like the Boosies or Bucky's is like it's unique. But when you don't have time for unique, you just want to stop and use the washrooms. This is a great place. Anyway,
It'll
so I'm
work.
very happy, delighted. Yeah, it will work. It was safe. It was, nice and clean and it was perfect. So I'm glad that this is coming back,
I'm
especially with the
glad that we
rocket.
have it open. Yes, with traveling
All
back and
right.
forth. It'll be an extra stop.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about with you, I don't know if you knew that, but I mean, you know George Wallace, obviously. I mean, I know you're very young, but he was the longest serving governor of Alabama, and not one of the good guys. Let's just be honest. Like he was, segregationist. I think Wikipedia described him as an enthusiastic supporter of segregation.
Oh yes.
We don't mean that in a good way,
No.
and people will know that he was shot. He was trying to run for president for a while there, and the guy who shot him, actually, I don't know that it was necessarily related to segregation because his original target was Richard Nixon, who was president at the time in the early '70s, and apparently that was too complicated because Secret Service and stuff like it's hard, right? So this guy chose an easier target, so to speak. Anyway, so shot George Wallace, and he was paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of his life. Now, nobody deserves that, regardless of their position. That's my view. Um, anyway, so Wallace himself died in '98, but I did not realize that the guy who shot him was still alive. And he's just getting out of prison. Apparently, he's been behaving admirably and has turned into, someone who's trying to set his life right. And he's been allowed out because he served his sentence. It's been 53 years since the shooting. And yeah, he served his full sentence and is out. And I was amazed that he was still around.
Yeah, I had no idea he was still around until you pointed that out. But it's crazy because they said at the end of Wallace's life, after
Hmm.
he was shot,
Hmm.
that he was trying to turn over a new leaf. You
Hmm.
know,
I went when I was in Huntsville a few months ago. I went to a talk by, what was his name, Bill Baxley, who was the Attorney General for a while there of the state, the guy who successfully prosecuted the. I think there were three at the time who had survived or still alive. Three of the people who had bombed the 16th Baptist Church,
in
16th
Birmingham.
Street Baptist
Mhm.
Church in Birmingham, and George Wallace was governor at the time, and this person was saying how he didn't get in the way, even though it was with the history and everything, that regardless of all of that, George Wallace kind of let this
Yeah.
happen, and in fact those men who were responsible for the bombing all died in prison in the end. So that was a little bit of justice being done, and he Wallace did not stand in the way at that point, and this would have been whew, in the late 70s.
Yeah.
So you know yeah,
Yeah.
like we keep saying, like societies are complicated.
It's
It is.
very
I
complicated.
wanted to talk about this one with you because, George Wallace is a name people in Canada know about, right?
And so our families are interconnected with branches. Their house in Gulf Shores was just down the way from my great grandparents' little place that they had down there. Um, they got, my mother and uncle were canvassing for George Wallace on the back of huge flatbeds in Alabama. It was Alabama at the time. It was
Hmm.
not right by any stretch of the imagination, but it is, it was that, and it is history. So it was interesting to see his transformation. I think after his wife died,
Mm.
he really, really changed there. She was the governor between his first and right. They put her in, and she did amazing thing for
Did she?
mental rights in Alabama when she was the governor. So that's a bright note on that little legacy that Canadians might not know.
No, I did not know that. So that's a
Yes,
good one to know
Lurleen
about.
Wallace. Yes, she
Hmm.
actually shut down Bryce in Tuscaloosa because all of the scrambling and the electroshock and the unjust treatment of mental patients. So
Wow. Because
yeah,
I mean, and I remember, and this would have been in the late 60s, early
60s, yeah,
60s, the very
70s,
late
yeah.
60s. Yeah, yeah. There was a time when, and I remember in Quebec, we had a campaign that was done by a singer who had a lobotomy done on her against her will, obviously, because she had some mental
Right.
health issues. But this would have gone, I think she would have had that done. Now I'm going completely from memory, so but like in the first half of the 20th century, let's just put it this way,
Right.
and then
It
by the
was
60s and 70s, she was part of that campaign to say this is not right, and it's not because you have a mental health issue or an illness or a big problem that you're not a
they were
human.
just they were
We need your
experimenting,
consent. That's
right.
right. Hmm. Hmm. Well, good for
Crazy.
her. I know it's good. No, I mean we've done a lot of you've made progress on so many fronts, and it's
Well,
disheartening sometimes to see how some leaders want to walk this back. Um,
yes.
yeah, I was reading in the New York Times President Trump saying because he had decided a long time ago that Afrikaners from so these are the white white folks from South Africa who descend from the Dutch and who, if I read my history books right, were instrumental in implementing the system of apartheid and benefited from that for a long time. Now, some of them feel persecuted in South Africa. I have no idea whether their claims have any basis or not. According to the experts that I've listened to and read, it's doubtful, but whatever. People feel what they feel. And Donald Trump has decided that they could apply and become refugees in the United States. And some of them have settled in Alabama. I'm sorry, I don't know what you did to deserve this, but they're apparently finding that life in America may not be as easy as they were led to believe. Because you know what? You have to work in America. You have to work hard, and even if you own land, it's life can be. I mean,
It's
it's
tough
tough.
when you farm. That's one of the hardest jobs, I think, here in America. Where around the world it might be different, and you could sustain a living off of a simple farming operation. But here, that's a big operation if you're going to make your living on farming.
Hmm.
I was reading in your article, and it said that he was going from farming full time into some kind of tech, I believe, in Birmingham.
Hmm.
And I thought, what
Hmm.
a change
Right.
for 3 or 4 generations of this family from South Africa to be in Birmingham, Alabama. I thought, oh, I don't think I would want to just swap to South Africa. I guess maybe if I was being persecuted, it might be better than the persecution, but
Hmm.
kind of a
Yeah.
stretch there.
It is kind of it. Well, especially for anyway,
Eh,
we'll
eh,
see, I
eh,
guess. But yeah,
Right, because we're not letting anybody else in. So I don't know what they
that's
did
right.
to get the golden ticket, but I guess hey,
Well,
they
so
should
far
be excited.
I still get allowed to come for a visit, so that's
That's
good.
right.
I'm not a
It's all
citizen.
that matters.
You know what? Maybe, yeah, no, maybe we should get rid of the concept of citizenship altogether. I
Just
mean,
like a
I know
big
this.
global entry system, like
Yeah, why not? Yeah. No, no, that's easier said than done. And I understand you don't have to write in to say that's completely unreasonable and you're being crazy again, because I know. But I
but
think I mean, anyway, we'll see. But I
yeah,
don't know that the policies, the way they are going right now, are necessarily successful.
it's questionable at best some days.
Hmm. What are you looking forward to this week? What's going on in your world?
Oh, you know what? I don't have anything just off the top
Oh,
of my head. Right. The mural's done. So just getting back into a normal rhythm,
hmm,
to see what shakes out. I really don't have anything. Like the
wow.
second half of May, it's nice and quiet on my calendar, and I'm not mad about
No, no, no. I would. I mean, I'm a little jealous right now, but that's okay.
it.
I'm trying to finish my book on Bruce Vanjoy, my politician. Oh yeah, I went to
Right.
there was a victory party on Friday, so I went to that. It was a lot of fun. About
Huh,
300 and so people attended.
that's a big party.
I know, right? For a small town just outside
Mhm.
of Ottawa. No, it was great, and people are so happy. And now, of course, he's being onboarded as a new member of parliament, and the session starts on Monday. So his new life is starting. So that's
I forgot.
exciting.
Um, cousin was telling me this morning it's a library board meeting tomorrow night, and because of a library book ban that was shut down in the
Hmm.
state.
Hmm.
This is the first meeting, I guess, since that, and they're trying to get all like-minded people to show up for the board meeting in case
Hmm.
the Moms of Liberty show up to give
Yes.
pushback because
Hmm.
you know, I don't understand that. You're fighting over a child's library card. You're the parents. You have to get it for them. You have to take them there.
Right.
Like open
Yeah.
their book bag and see what books they have. And
Hmm.
these people are arguing and they're giving them a cell phone.
Right.
You're, I promise you'll find out more on a cell phone than you will in Harry Potter. It's
Right. Or anything else, or even if, if a book could make you gay, like, is it why am I not, somebody was saying this, not original to me, but why am I not, in fact, a very hungry caterpillar?
eh,
Right? Like,
right,
if a book could do that, like, you'd have all kinds of kids being trains or maybe identifying as, I don't know, Teletubbies, whatever they were. Um,
right. I've never read a book that was that good that made me want to be just anything.
yeah,
They're great for your imagination, but that as parents, that's the boundaries we set. Like this is real, this is fiction. It's okay to play in fiction,
right.
and read it, but you're not going to grow up and be there. But anyway,
So you're going to that meeting?
yes, I want to go with cousin, just to see what they say, how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It should be
Good.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting point, half of Alabama can't read, so I don't understand why the library cards are such a big deal.
Right. Yeah, we
Right.
have issues up here too. It's not necessarily like well, they call this functional illiteracy, right? Like or you can read to grade three level,
Mm.
but you have difficulty assimilating like a newspaper article, for instance, or instructions on a bottle of medication, useless stuff like that. And then we, we have some serious issues everywhere in North
Oh,
America.
well, that's good to know that it's not just
Mhm.
us.
Oh no, it's not just you.
Right.
And
I think Mississippi's the
Yeah.
only state that's behind us. Thank God for
Yeah, they have
Mississippi.
standard. Yeah, poor of them. Yeah, but at least they're there to bump you up a little
That's
bit.
right. I'll take
Uh,
it.
but just to have kids reading like anything,
Right. Instead of
right?
on a tablet, or behind a video game, I would think parents would be
Yeah.
happy, but
hmm
who knows?
Well, I wish you all the best at that meeting, and I
Yes.
hope you bring us good news next week.
Yes. And it should
hmm
be fun and interesting.
All right, so you keep sweating in Alabama, and the
And you keep
temperatures are going
freezing
to
up
be
there, right?
in the 50s all week. So it's still getting your yeah. I refuse to wear socks because
Well,
it's May and I'm
right.
freezing, but that's okay.
Get good
I
house
can't complain.
shoes. Yeah. Get some
Okay,
Uggs. Yeah. Okay.
all right.
Thanks.
Have a great
Have a
week.
good week. Bye bye.
Bye.